Dave has come down from the north. He has a super business. It's all phones and contracts. Turning over, say, 1.4, retaining over 30%. Now that's rare. So we're going to find out how he does it. On this episode, it's going to be all things phones. Your business, we need to understand it because it has big numbers on it. When you were telling me, what were you telling me? It was like, how many phones do Apple get through a day then? Isn't it nearly 1 million phones?
Yeah. On average, they sell about nearly 1 million phones every single day.
So you think there's a bit of opportunity to pick up some of this money? So
Yes.
can you for the listeners and viewers, explain exactly what you do? Just go through the process of what it is, the model, if you like.
Yeah. So we're a telecoms business and we supply mobile phones to businesses across the UK. And our business really is about SIM cards and then the phones that sit on top of that. There's two ways of setting up a business like mine. There is one, which is the brokerage model, which is a bit like an insurance broker. You would sell a product and then get paid a commission at the end of the month. So when we first started the business, we would connect a phone to, say, O2 or EE or Vodafone or 3, put the customer on the appropriate deal, and then at the end of the month, we get paid £100 or something commission.
Right, as a one-off payment.
As a one-off payment,
yeah.
and we live on that. So, we do 50 phones, we're going to get, say, £5,000, probably a bit more on different tariffs or a bit less, but that's about the average. Now, that's a great way of doing it because you get upfront money, you can pay yourself, you can pay any potential staff, pay your business premises, etc. But the networks themselves then still own the customer. So you would get an invoice from O2 or EE, etc., and then they would also do the customer service. So they collect your direct debit, they invoice you, and then they would take over the customer service to a certain extent. We would still be there to help you, but they're the ones that would facilitate that. The second way of doing our business is where you become your own service provider. So we would send an invoice to the customer each month as Sympatico. We would collect the direct debit, and we would then buy the phone and the SIM card from the network wholesale.
So would you just buy the phones from wherever you could get them at the right price?
Correct, yes.
And then the SIM cards come from so if I'm on O2, so you've bought an O2 SIM card.
Correct, yeah.
But you've got a better power of buying that SIM card because of your bulk?
Correct. And they would only deal with us anyway because we are a telecoms business, so they would wholesale to us direct.
And this is not your first rodeo on this. I mean, this goes way, way back, doesn't it?
Yeah, 27 years. 1998 I started in mobile phones, yeah.
Tell the story about the market, because the market is interesting. You were there in the wind and rain selling a few clothes on a market.
Correct, yes.
And explain that. It was a great story.
It's one of those sliding doors moments, really, where your life does literally change. I've always been interested in entrepreneurship. Washed cars when I was a kid with my friend. Got paid £1 and things like that. I went to college to do electronics, so I like fixing and make things like that. We used to fix TVs and things. And then I went on to university to do electronics and communications, and rapidly found out that the higher end of electronics is all about maths and nothing else. It's just literally equation after equation, and I was bored silly, really. But I always had this entrepreneurship thing in the background. Just prior to that, my dad had lost his job, and as a family we were going through tough times, paying the bills, and I decided to build computers. So I had this entrepreneurial thing in me. Yeah. We built computers only a couple of weeks while I was at college, and that money then went to help the family. But then the spark was ignited in me. I met a guy who had a big house and a nice car, and I thought, how did you make your money? And he told me he was in straw and he owned a business, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. And that sort of really did fire me up then. So I ended up getting the Exchange and Mart and all those type of magazines and poring over those on an evening, what could I sell? And I ended up looking at these ex-catalogue type things, and I found a market. It's a quite a unique place in North Lincolnshire called Hemswell, and it was the largest car boot, one of the largest car boots in the UK, but it was an old RAF base, so they had barracks on there, the old barracks buildings, and they turned those barracks buildings into an antique centre. It's still on the go today, 20, 30 odd years later actually, from when it was first founded. But you could have these market stalls in the barracks, so they could be there 7 days a week.
Right, okay.
You could lock the doors and you could have them, and then people would come at a weekend. So I was selling clothes, mainly obviously on the weekend, and I was at university in the week, and we were doing like 3 pieces for a tenner or something like that. But I was sat there not making a great deal of money. I was all full of enthusiasm, but making £100 or something in a day, or £200. But then in the corner of my room, because I rented about half the room, and then the other half was another guy. And on a Sunday, he was only there on a Sunday, but he would have a queue of people down to his table, and he had literally a really crude table with a tablecloth on it, and he was selling mobile phones. And that was the point when I was like, "What? How have you done today?" And he would say to me, "Probably done $3,000 today."
Wow.
And I was like, nearly fell off my chair. I was really like wide-eyed, like what? And back, he wasn't just selling mobile phones as in, here's a phone, give me some money. He was selling contracts. Right. So he was selling contracts on behalf of just Orange. And back in the day, it was a 12-month contract, £17.50 a month. You got 15 minutes a month included in that. Imagine that now.
You had these horrendous bills.
Horrendous bills.
Yeah, that's right.
And you got a phone included in that 12 months, but obviously had to do credit checks. So he would sat there with a queue of people. He'd have a fax machine because he'd have to, and a photocopier, and he would have to photocopy people's proofs of identification. So you'd have to get their utility bill, their driving license, passport, photocopy it, then send it through to Orange on the fax, ring through, do a credit check. Yeah, you passed. Right, here you go. You can walk out with your free phone, and we'll charge you £17.50 a month on the direct debit. Wow. And he was just doing that, and he was getting around 100. And the commissions back then would have been about £150 upwards per phone per person, and he always had a queue at his stand.
And did you? And then from that, how did you then? That was the sort of like the aha moment.
Absolutely.
And then how did you take that into what you started? Because you ended up with quite a few shops, didn't you?
So I got talking to him, as you do, because we're in the same room all day. And he said, "Well, why don't you do this?" And because I had an interest in technology, because obviously I have electronics. And I said, "Oh, okay, where do I start?" He said, "Well, go find yourself a shop." So I ended up going off it's a place called Thorn. It won't mean anything to many people, but it's off the M18 near Doncaster. It's a little market town. And I went looking around there because there was no... Doncaster was probably a bit too expensive for me because I didn't have any money behind me. But I found a shop, and it was £80 a week cash. And it was on the high street. And I said, right, I'll have it. And I got a load of phones, filled it up. It was called the Mobile Phone Shop. I can picture it now. And I opened in July 1998. I had a shelf, I had my counter. You remember you used to get car chargers and cases and car holders and all that. You had all that on the wall, and then I had my phones behind me on shelves, and I opened the door.
Because that's that. When you go back on those things, these are great stories of entrepreneurs. It's like that was quite brave, wasn't it? And I talk about people. They say, "Well, if you're an entrepreneur, you must be really brave all the time." This, that, and that. And it's not really all the time. It's just in focus moments. You say you're either really stupid or really brave. You can frame it each way you want, but that's what happens, isn't it?
And I think you just get this focus where you've just got to get it done, whether it scares you or not.
The regret would kill you, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Absolutely. Actually, that's a really great way of putting it.
So that was the first one.
Yeah. But just aside to that, I literally opened the door, and on the first day, all I had all day was two older ladies popping their heads in and saying, "What are you selling?" I said, "Phones." "Oh, we don't want one of them," and they walked off. And I thought, what have I done? Anyway, the next day, I remember getting to the shop, and there was people outside the door. Right. And I ended up selling a lot of phones up to Christmas. And I remember, and it was one of the nicest times, still been in the shop at 8 o'clock on Christmas Eve that year, selling phones.
Yeah, baby.
Dark night.
Right,
Christmas,
when you need the money. Right,
it was
Christmas.
Just fabulous.
Brilliant.
People still coming in and getting Christmas presents. And I was just working. I think I worked 16 hours that day, and absolutely loved it. But I made quite a few £1,000s then, so I thought, right, I'll open up a second shop. That's what you do, isn't it? But I opened it in the next market town. I had no clue about getting staff. I was just on a wing and a prayer, really. Right. So I put my poor mum in there. She's been a housewife. I was like, "Mum, you're going to have to go in this shop." She's like, "Mums do anything for you." So she's like, "Okay."
They definitely do, don't they? Yeah, my mum would do anything for me, bless her.
And then she was really good, but it only lasted a few months, and then, I shut that shop down. I kept my original one. But then I thought, right, I'll get serious about this, and got someone to run my shop. And then I got another guy. So there was 3 of us in the shop, but then that means I could go out and get another one. So I went and got I didn't go to the other town, but I went. And ultimately, over the preceding 6 years, we opened 6, and had great fun doing it. It was the best education. I think working in a shop and dealing with the general public is an education like no other. I had every person you could know. I had Lord Howard from Carlton Towers, who was cousin of the Queen, and right down every person I dealt with, and it was just a fabulous experience.
What I like though about your story is that you've been in this a long time. This is not this flash in the pan fad thing, because this is a whole sort of you're doing an apprenticeship right from that first guy in the market to opening up your whole all these shops, and then there was a bit of a hiccup there, wasn't there, with the shops? What happened with that?
Yeah, it became harder, is the only way I can describe it. We were in Market Town, so then there's a Market Town usually surrounds a bigger town or city, and the networks themselves. So back in the day, it would have been Orange, Vodafone, BT Cellnet, if you remember them, and 1-to-1 at the time, and they started opening their own shops and putting silly offers on. But then, of course, the internet became a thing as well, and you had the big box shifters starting to really put stuff out. So it put pressure on us, and at the point I thought I can get out of this without too much pain. So I ended up closing the shops down, because I had an offer to go and work for one of my suppliers, and that was a business-to-business arrangement where they were based in Northampton, and I would look after Yorkshire on my own and look after clients and go networking and doing the things that I like doing. I joined BNI at that point. You've probably heard of BNI. I've been a member of BNI now for 21 years. I'm one of the oldest BNI members.
And that's quite a kick in the pants a bit, isn't it? That you've built this thing up, and through the circumstance of how the market had moved, you've had to sort of take that step. That was painful?
Don't remember it as being painful.
No.
Just remember it as being a transition, really.
You were then employed, weren't you?
Yes, I was employed, Standard structure, employment with commission. But I was left to my own devices, very much so. So I kept that employment. I always did what I'm very conscientious, so I always did what I did. But then I ended up setting up an estate agency with my other half, Jane, and we started that in 2005, and I helped her with that. So I was
listen to the name of this. This is good. And
yes,
the name was
helptomove.co.uk, but with a number 2 in the middle. Yeah, it was a fabulous name. And it was a fabulous business. And I used to do the photos for the houses because I love photography and floor plans, and I'd go out and do valuations as well. And I would literally go out and do probably 4 valuations in the day, but also see 2 phone customers. So I'd have to get myself in character to go into some person's house to value, and then go off to a haulage company and try and sell some phones. It's great.
What is definitely coming across, Dave, in what you're saying here, is that you are the hardest worker, and I was the product of this. Is that the working hard is not enough. You need to get working smart.
Yes.
And it's the smart thing when you go, oh no, hang on, we're going to do it in this different way. We're just working your bones off to just every hour that God gives you to do it isn't necessarily, you have this entrepreneurial idea, and then you turn into this operator, and the entrepreneur's disappeared.
Yes, you're absolutely right there. I was doing the estate agency, and then that unfortunately it was going great guns, but the 2008 recession to 2010 really did finish it off.
It was a bad time for a lot of businesses.
It was terrible.
Wasn't it?
Yeah, we'd only just got started, really. We were doing well, but it really did finish us off. We limped on for about 3 years. But then I carried on. Obviously, I was still doing the phone employment all the way through. But then in 2016, the guys I'd worked with who owned the business in Northampton, one of them unfortunately became ill and died. And what that meant was the business was sold, and new people came in, and my sort of idyllic life, really being left alone, suddenly changed, and new people came in, great people, wanted to corporatize the business that I worked for in Northampton, and suddenly I was like, who's that guy up there doing? What's he doing? And they wanted to micromanage me, and I thought, hang on a minute, this is a proper job now. This is going to be me doing stuff I don't really want to do, unless I'm doing it for myself again. And I just happened to have a dinner with my fellow director, Eric, who I was in BNI with. He had a marketing business. It was just by chance. A customer had given me 2 bottles of very old red wine, 1950s. He just said, here, have these. And I'm not a drinker. And I knew Eric likes his wine. And I said, what shall I do with these? And he said, you can bring them around to my house and we'll open them. They'll either be vinegar or they'll be the best thing we've ever drunk. Yeah. So come round for dinner on Saturday night, bring Jane, me and my wife Lindsay, and we'll have a dinner. And we had a dinner, and at the end of the dinner I said I was unhappy. Eric was a customer of mine and I'd known him a long time.
Hang on, back up. What was the wine? Vinegar or good?
Oh, vinegar.
I was going to say,
I've got a picture of him opening it in October 2016, and it was disgusting. Yeah. But it was great fun. Yeah, we had great fun opening it. And at the end of the evening I said I was unhappy. And again, the entrepreneur in me, I think. The preceding year or two, I'd actually set up a little business called Photo Planner, where I was doing photos and floor plans for a estate agency born out of our other estate agency that we lost. And I used to do that for about 4 or 5 estate agents. I'd just go around in between phone business and go and earn a few quid. And I was good at it. And I said to Eric, I'm going to go do that. I can't work for this company anymore now. It's changed. I'm going to go and do my own thing. And he said, are you mad? And I was like, what do you mean? He said, well, why the heck would you leave all those contacts, all that knowledge to go and do something like that? I said, well, I was feeling a bit lost, to be quite honest with you. And he said, well, let's do it together. He said, you go sell some phones, we'll set up a business together, and we'll do the marketing, because he had like 4 staff. Him and his wife ran a marketing business in Beverley. And he said, well, we'll do all the marketing, we'll take care of everything else, you just go sell phones, and we'll split it 50-50. So I was like, okay, I was like, well, let's go on this ride again. We set up the limited company in November, but it took about 3 months to set the business up, because you've got to have interviews with the networks. EE in particular are quite stringent on who they deal with and who they let sell their phones. Yeah. So we had to go through that process. We had to set up a little department, a little office with branding and all sorts of stuff to get that over the line. But at that point, I didn't know whether we were going to get that or not. So I had to carry on working. Anyway, by January 2017, we'd got all that signed off and we were ready to go. So I then resigned, had a month's garden leave, and started officially on the 1st of March 2017 as Simpatico. Had a 6-month clause where I couldn't work in the industry type thing, but we honoured that because we didn't want any hassle as a new business. So we just went out and I got my first piece of business, which was Beverley Minster, the iconic Beverley Minster, which is sort of the baby version of York Minster. Yeah. They wanted some SIM cards, and I got that in May 2017, so I was 2 months with no revenue. Right. Tough times, when people say, and I think when people say about resilience, it's all about time, really. You've got to give things time. And unfortunately, sometimes you don't have time because you need money, don't you?
This entrepreneur thing and building these companies, it's just not a sprint, is it?
No.
It is, you think you go all the way back to where you were, cutting your teeth to get your mindset right, that I can't work for the company, to then come forward. And it is resilience, Dave, isn't it? I mean, it's just, and because the ones that are here now, they have had those problems, and a lot of the Joe normal people just said, "Oh, so I'll just go and work for someone." Yeah, it's
the little things, because I had a really nice BMW when I worked for the company car. I had to give that up, and I had to get the cheapest old banger I could get my hands on to drive around to get to potential clients. And when I was 42 at the time, I'm now 50.
Here's this guy coming to sell us this expensive phone in an old banger car. It's not like, let's give you the big leg
and
up.
the pride aspect and the ego aspect. It's quite. You've got to get over that and get over yourself, really.
But then, just flick out a minute. Your company. I mean, how many phones do you do at the moment for people?
We look after about 4,000 phones.
It's a lot of phones.
About 1,000 customers. Yeah.
2 of those are mine.
2 of those are yours. Yeah.
And I've got to say, David, we met you first at a business masterclass with James Sinclair, and I listened to what you told me, and I was going, I was sort of taking it all in. I'm not techie at all, and in my head I was going, Is this a scam? Are we being scammed here? Because it seemed too good to be true, the savings. There's very good savings on it. And I had to go off, check with James, check with somebody else that they were also your customers. And then when I got that qualification, then I was able to dive in and take the sort of, here we go, right, we're changing. That sort of dive in, hold your breath, is it all going to work stuff? But I've got to say that, you looked after us ever so well. There was a problem with one of the SIM cards, and within a couple of hours, you were on the end of the phone and it all got sorted out. And I can't see that being that would have happened with one of the bigger companies that I've been used to.
I remember speaking to your wife on the Sunday because she had a problem in France. And we got it sorted very quickly.
But it is, it's like the untapped piece of business knowledge that we should all be with independents like you for our phones because of the savings.
Yeah.
And they're huge
And
savings.
the humanisation of it, I call it.
Absolutely.
Like being able to speak to a human about the problems you're having.
Yeah. But
instead of a call centre.
How do you do that now? How are you doing your funnel for business to get more people into you? How does that work?
Networking. So me meeting people is obviously very important. We've just started doing LinkedIn adverts, so we're giving that a try. We do SEO, customer referrals. And that's something I want to expand on. I'd love to talk to people about their experience of that.
I think it would, because if whenever I've got an opportunity, I'm trying to sell you into other people to do it as part of part of our entrepreneurial thing that we do. But if you could get a little mechanism that made them get a kickback or whatever,
that's what I was thinking.
The qualification that I've got one, it works, it's real, it's not a scam, and there's these savings. People listen to people, don't they? And that would work.
That's going to be my next thing, actually.
Because you're very good. When I watch you're very good at getting hold of a customer, explaining it to them, and getting them across the line because it's you. That brings me to another thing. What you're building this up. What is? We'll jump around here a bit, but where are you going with this? What's in your mind's eye? What does it look like in 6 years? What's the plan for this business?
My ultimate goal is last year we turned over 1.4 million from a standing start 8 years ago, and my biggest challenge now is getting it to 5 million. It's just scaling it.
But tell our audience what the things are behind that. That's 1.4 million.
Yeah.
You have no debt.
No debt. Yeah, no debt at all. We have about 1,000 customers, 4,000 phones.
And the retention out of that money after all the bills are paid?
It's 38% gross profit and about 18 to 20% net profit.
Yeah, it's mega, man. Yeah. I mean, that's so good.
Yeah.
People would be lucky to get 10.
Yeah.
People are happy with 5 on bigger turnover businesses. So that's very relative for the space that you're in. It's just that to build the scale of that, to work out what that funnel needs to look like to build up.
Yes. We've had great growth for years, but I can see it is slowing down because obviously we've got to a certain size.
And competition, Dave?
There's plenty of competition, competition online. There's plenty of competition from the networks themselves, but they are behemoths. I mean, EE themselves are 30 million customers, so what are you but a very small number.
Yeah.
And then there are people like us, obviously, and there's usually 1 or 2 in each city.
Right, okay.
We've got about 3 in Hull as our main city.
But when we had the pre-chat, you were talking to it's quite a relationship thing.
It is a relationship.
And that was interesting what you said, like, the NHS have just cancelled a contract with you because somebody else has come in as a new face in town.
Yeah. And
you can lose like a couple of 100 phones overnight.
Correct.
And you were saying that you much prefer to have slightly smaller businesses, 5 phones, 15 phones, that type of thing, and they'll be returning forever. But that you will become their supplier for a long, long time.
Correct, yeah. My longest serving customer currently is an electrical business called Keith France Electrical in Selby that have been with me since 1999. And they have been a customer directly with me through all the journeys that I've been in. They've stuck with me.
And if we look at that, we would say if we did a SWOT on them, the money they have saved over the years.
Yeah.
Just for the audience.
And the relationship.
Yeah. And for the audience, roughly how much are we, or percentage-wise, are we saving?
I was just doing one yesterday, and we've got their bill from £200 a month to 120, so that's a huge saving. But that's not always normal. No. But usually 10 to 20% over the networks.
But between 10 and 20% on that recurring monthly fee, that's a lot.
Yeah, it is. It adds up over 2 years.
For me, when I'm doing my deep dive on all the X's going out each month, we do that. We regularly do that. We usually do it in January because there's time there to do it. We go through every bloody bill and see where we can tweak it. And that would be a huge saving. We're trying to get 3% changed on some stuff that we buy. So that's huge. Yeah. Okay, what would be the exit for you? How do you see that for the business? And is an exit a plan?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. In a sense, it's my pension, really.
Yeah.
I want to get it to a point where we are turning over that 3 or 4 or 5 million with no debt and then hand the reins over to somebody else.
Sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to take a moment to let you know about Baddow Park Mastermind. I have created a mastermind for high-level entrepreneurs. There's only 16 spaces and we've only got a few left. If you often find you're the biggest fish in the pond at other masterminds, click the link in the pod description because this might be just for you. Now, back to the pod. I think the smartest thing in the pre-chat was what you told me, that you have already spoke to the necessary accountants like the Grant Thorntons and stuff.
Yep.
What do you feel about this? How do you think this should be? And they are telling you what the sort of numbers you need to get up to, that they would be very, very digestible and would have customers to buy your business.
Yes.
Man, Dave, that's super smart. You know, it's like going to the bank and saying, I'm going to borrow some money next year. Tell me what I need to look like when I come in a year's time. Like, that's super smart, because those things and bits of knowledge that they give you now, you can then put into operation, and it gives you a goal to work to.
Yes,
to what
that's
the number,
the most important bit,
what the number looks like, isn't it?
Otherwise, it's just wishy-washy.
If he says it needs to be at least 6 million of that model, and we're going off to the races,
well, let's go and do it.
Let's go and do it. Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's important to have that focus.
And all these years, David, are you still loving it?
Yeah,
Getting
absolutely.
up, doing them
I have
sales,
ups and downs.
getting them across.
Of course we do. We do as entrepreneurs. But at the moment, we've spent. I'm really proud of what we've done over the last 8 years, in the sense that we did start with the generic model, but we have consistently every few months just almost reinvented the way that we do it, so that we're at the best possible. We buy the phones at the cheapest place we can do it. We negotiate with the networks the best we can, so we can offer the best price to the customer. So nobody's coming out and undercutting us.
And is that commonly relationship based, or is it just price point? Does that person?
It's both, to be fair. If the price is right and you're right, you've got the business.
Yeah.
If I'm not all right.
And will you buy stock in advance before you've got orders?
No. It's always on demand.
On demand.
Yeah, we cannot. Yeah. Well, 2 reasons. One, it's a huge amount of money to have tied up.
Yeah.
And second, they're highly stealable.
On spec.
Yeah. I wouldn't want to have 100 iPhones in our office. It would be run raided.
Without numbers attached to them, they are. Yeah.
They're huge amounts of cash, aren't they?
Yeah. I think it's a very interesting model that it's almost that, like, why don't they do the discounts and not let you buy those SIM cards? I don't quite get that bit. Is it just that they want other independents getting the stuff out?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
There's plenty of business out there, isn't there? I think for us all to compete. And
I just remember back in the day, Dave, I went all the way to this one shop halfway into London, down the Lee Bridge Road, and had a phone bolted, a box of tricks behind my seat.
You'd have had a car battery, wouldn't you, to run it?
Drilled a hole in the roof, put an aerial in, drilled a hole in the dash and bolted a cradle onto it. That
just predated me.
Yeah.
So when I started, it was really when the mobile phones, some did have a pull-up aerial, but it was all Nokia's, looking a bit more sleek.
That's it.
And that's really when the industry
you had to grab the phone and press the lever at the same time. It snapped off the cradle. The phone bills were huge. You get a phone bill for £700, because it was all.
It was 50p a minute, £1 a minute. It was just, and we just like to talk, all of us, don't we, as humans? But phones were big then, but then they went really small.
Yeah,
really tiny Nokias, and now they're massive again. They've gone up to 6 and 7 inch screens, because we all demand that media to be on our phones.
This thing, how do you? That we sort of touched on earlier. How do we get you out of the business? Because you're this ball of energy that does the sales, and I see it. How's that going to work? Because that's going to be taking on some serious, sales experts to do what you do and get it across. Have you done any of that yet? What's that look like?
That's the one thing that is probably one of those SWOT analysis things where that is the weakness. We are still running the business. I have a PA, born out of being on James Sinclair's podcast nearly 2 years ago now. And within 2 months of coming off that podcast, I got a PA, and she's been with me ever since.
And how is that? Is that the magic sauce?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it really is my friend, isn't it? I mean, it is. I mean, Christina's been with me, say, 14 years, and I had one before that was with me 12 years. It is the thing that just makes everything work, doesn't it?
Just being able to pick up the phone and say, "Can you get this done, please?"
Yeah, that's it.
Means it's done.
Yeah.
Even if it's just getting a client renewed.
And the real tip on this for people listening and watching: get a good one.
Yeah.
Don't get your sister-in-law or someone down the pub's niece or something. Go and get someone that's been a professional PA somewhere else in a big job.
That's what I've got.
That's then come back, and she might just start with you 3 days a week. My Christina was really high end with a big company, but she wanted to take her daughter to school every day and pick her up. So we brokered a deal. She did 4 days a week, started at 9:30 and finished at 2:00 in the afternoon, and didn't take lunch. And then gradually, over the years, her daughter's left school. Now she's full time. I mean, she's like a EA. She runs 2 or 3 of the companies on her own.
That's a key point you've just made, isn't it? Look after people, and they'll look after you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we are all about our people, isn't it, and the culture of how it works. So there's some work for you to do on that, isn't it? If you're working towards this £6 million turnover on that model and you out of it, otherwise they're going to end up golden handcuffing you into the business for revenue, aren't they?
Yeah. I mean, I suppose the lucky thing in our business is, they can just take our revenue and just change the name on the invoice to theirs and bolt it into probably their business, which will be bigger than ours who buys it.
Right.
But yes, it is an issue. I've got to work on that. So.
I think when I've looked at it, when I used to do all the estimates and do all the quoting and everything else, and to bring that person in and train them up, I knew he wasn't going to be as good as me. So I had to accept that he would only do 80% of what I could do, and then just live with it. But it meant that I could go off and find new technology, new businesses to buy, new customers, and then I was back into my entrepreneur role. And that's really was the change, to be working hard and now working smart, and then having to learn how to have middle management around you. And it's, it is a skill, and it is a hoop jump to do it. You've got to get used to doing it. Not getting frustrated and not quite finish it how you would have finished it. But
I've always worked on my own, so I think that's and even just giving it to a PA was difficult. But obviously, it's been life changing for me, and I did relinquish control to her.
But don't you think that it helps? I mean, we're all guests here at the dinner tonight. That community,
dinner's fabulous.
I mean, it really. Wherever you're listening or watching us now, if there is something like the dinner or an entrepreneurs group in your town, or even what you were a member of, what was it? The
BNI.
BNI. Get around other business people and entrepreneurs. It is desperately lonely.
Yep.
It is desperately needing to have other people's phone books available to you for solicitors, brokers, agents, whatever it might be. Our WhatsApp group is amazing, isn't it?
Oh, incredible.
You put a little post out for something, bang, 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 bang. It all comes back. Instantaneously, it comes back. I always look every morning, what's someone's need today? If I can chime in, I will chime in to do it. But you see the interaction, and people are, moving really fast towards the left with an idea, and boom, there's 3 people going to hold their hand and do it with them. Yeah. And I think I said to somebody else on a podcast previous to this one, the camaraderie and the actual thing of being able to tell people that it is a bit shit at the moment, and to listen to that, because as business people ask us how you're doing, and we just go, oh, it's all great and happy and roses and it's fantastic, but that necessarily isn't always the way, is it?
No. I mean, I love the community that we're in, just general as entrepreneurs, because being able to just pick up the phone to a solicitor or an accountant, because a lot of people hold those people in a bit of a pedestal, don't they? A bit of a mystique, really. But for us, it's like we're all together. And we can pick up the phone to anybody, can't we? It's just fantastic.
But this whole solicitor and stuff like that, I always call them my subcontractors. Even the bank are my subcontractors. Like that. I said, you need another subcontractor. They go, well, it's the bank. Oh, it's the bank. Can you say it to the bank? Fucking right, you can say it to the bank. Tell the bank, this is what I need, and this is what I need. As you get more mature into it, they are there to facilitate you.
Yeah.
And
they want to make money out of you.
And I always think insurance brokers, even some accountants, they get complacent. Oh yeah, just put it up 10% and roll them over into the next year. Oh no, let's have another quote. Let's see what it is. I've recently changed to a very good friend, John Holliday, and he came in, did a SWOT analysis on what we were doing. We were a big organisation. Our accountants were a big company, and he saw like 3 glaring holes in there, and just said, if they were entrepreneurial, looking with you and holding your hand properly, they would have picked up these 3 things. And it was one of the items was nearly £700,000 worth of saving.
Wow.
It was huge, and these accountants hadn't even mentioned it to us. And it was, I mean, it was just huge, and I'll go into it in more detail in another podcast. But it was, that checking, having third eyeing what you're doing, how you're. We've always done it this way. We would do it. No, have a look. And we get those opportunities by speaking to other business owners as well, and finding out how to do it.
It's just invaluable.
Yeah. We were talking earlier, before we started recording today, we were talking about SEO and pay-per-click and stuff. Are you bringing that in? Does it work?
Yes, we are starting. I mean, everyone says, don't they, SEO's a long-term thing.
Yeah.
So we have an SEO person who's been working with us for 15 months. We have an online shop now, so you can go to our website at www.sympatico.co.uk, and there's every sort of make of phone and network and contract that's on there, and you can shop and fulfill an order on there. And it's just driving traffic. That's the problem. We've got to drive traffic to that shop.
Yeah.
And the shop has resulted in some really excellent clients. I mean, we got a set of schools, like private schools in Norfolk, a trust of 30 schools, and they've got a couple of 150 SIM cards with us now. And that came from a shop inquiry. And we've had lots of inquiries like that, and lots of business generated. But we want more.
Are you doing more podcasts and stuff? Do you do much of this?
This is the only second one I've ever done.
Right. See, my two pennies as I've got to know you and as I've listened to your story is you need to do more of this, like a lot more. You need to be like, no, let's get Dave, the phone guy that knows all of the tricks and flicks re-phones. That's a very digestible thing for people to have on their podcast, to start understanding there is this huge savings to be had. We all use our bloody phone, and some businesses have got loads of phones that they dish out to their employees as part of their setup. I think if we could have you on more podcasts explaining how the gig, the trick and flick of what your business does and how it helps companies directly overnight save money, that would bring customers to you, and I think that would be that you become the face of the phone thing. But there again, we're back into where we were. That then they'll want you to go with the business as you get down the line. It is tricky.
Do you think I should be doing more video then?
Oh, yeah, I think do.
I don't do it.
But
so
I think
I watch you on Instagram.
Yeah, but I'll do Instagram about, look, here we go. There's 3 going out, showing what it is, and it takes time, Dave, to build up that following of whatever. But famous to a few would be very good for you because you'd be the phone guy. They would be looking to see some savings, and even when you're talking to someone, you can always say, just check me out on Instagram. It does explain it a lot more on that. Or check out that we've done a few YouTube videos. Check it out on YouTube. I really think the personal brand to making sales of comfort for people. They want to go and see who is behind this trick and flick on the phones. Then they see your videos. Then they see how you explain it. All right, it is a real thing. Look, they're using it. These big companies are using it. I should be using it. And to get them to feel comfortable enough to do the transition is what you need to be able to achieve with that. Yeah,
that's really interesting. You just said that. Get comfortable with the transition.
They need to get.
That
comfy.
is a sticky point sometimes.
But they need to get comfy with it. They need to get comfy. So if they're going to get comfortable, they need to find out who owns the company and who's behind it and how long you've been doing it. So you can tell all that backstory as well. They also need to find out that others like them have done it, like them and bigger. Just like I said, I went and checked it out that James was using you, somebody else was using it. They said, no, stop. They didn't even have to explain it too much, but they said, just go and get a phone off tape. You will save money from day one. And that is gold. That's gold. That's using your customer base as part of your sales force because they're doing it. I think what you said earlier is also another massive thing, is do a kickback where they recommend they get a kickback. And
that's easy for us to do.
It doesn't have to be big money either. It just needs to be better. And then on the database, you put it out. The kickback is going up 5% for this month only. We've got a push. We're trying to get some more phones out. And talk to them and tell your happy customer base to help you. When we did a tree, we would do a tree at Harold and Hilda's house, and then we would immediately, when we were doing the invoice with Harold and Hilda, we'd say, here's a mug with a few of our cards in it. If you know any neighbours, get us some work. We're always looking to keep the men busy. There was that mentality, and I think you could do the same. We're helping businesses save money with our phone setup of how we do it and how we understand the network. We need more people to help us help other people. So it doesn't feel like a money-grabbing bastard entrepreneur syndrome. It's like we are helping commercial people save money with their businesses.
And I am a humble guy, so I think I can...
you can sell that all day long. And listen, you're good. You're very good. And you know that from your track record. You look people in the eye. It's all about honesty. And it is about they save money overnight. This would be a big sales thing that I'd be pushing. And, let us make you feel comfortable with your transition. Because we just think, we'll just go with Auto, go with the big... What can go wrong? And shit goes wrong. I've had stuff where it's just packed up abroad, can't get through to anybody, no customer service, complete waste of time. I've got actually, when I was away once working, I bought another phone on another net just so I could operate, because this thing just would not work.
They're right arm now, aren't they? We can't lose it.
You can't, no.
That's
why they need to feel comfortable with it. They think, we're going to go with these people from up north, and is it going to work? Or is it we'll turn it off next Wednesday? They need to feel that comfortable factor with it.
There's a lot we can explain. Yeah. You're right.
Yeah.
I'm going to do that.
Yeah, but I think from sort of humble beginnings to where you are now, that's such a great model, isn't it? When you look at that turnover related to debt, related to profit, I mean, that's quite an Easter egg right there. That's rare. That doesn't really happen in a lot of businesses.
Yeah. Yeah. We've only ever taken on one piece of debt, and that was the bounce back loan, and we only use that to buy phones for people. So. And that's been paid back. So.
Okay. I invite you to have a look over my shoulder at my newsletter. If you want to hear about the things that grab my attention each week that could bring you value, sign up in the episode description. Now, back to the pod. Tombola time. Whoa! We need music. Come on.
We need a jingle. We need a jingle.
Fabulous. So
who's spinning it then? You must be spinning it.
I'll do the spinning because you've got to think what you're doing on this. Is it that way, Ollie? Oh, God, look, it's coming out already.
Oh, it's done it.
I know, I'm doing it all the wrong way. Right, we've got three. We've got a choice of three now. Tombola time. Here we go. So this is for our question. And our first question is number one question. So what's number one question, Ollie? Let's do this.
Number one.
I'm trying to put as much energy into this crap thing that we can. Ollie ordered this, but it looked a lot better on. Anyway.
How did you develop your overall sales strategy when you first started your business?
Oh dear.
Well, the first thing I did was go meet people. I went networking. I joined as many networking organisations as I could possibly do. I went to just rub shoulders with people.
Yeah,
I think that's the best way of starting. If you think that you're going to just build a website, sit in your office, and people are going to flock to you, nope. No. You've got to go out and meet them and encourage them to be customers. A bit like what you've just said about video, and I need to do that. Yeah. I need to get myself on there and explain that. But face-to-face, go out there and meet as many people as you can. I've seen a lot of businesses over the years where they have just thought, it's easy, I'll just start my website and the public will come flocking, and they don't, unfortunately. No. I think out of the 1,000 customers that we have, there's only been, single-digit percentage that's actually come from direct from the website.
And nothing else. Say you're running at 1,000 customers, what's the drop-off rate of that?
Oh, very low. We have such a high retention.
Is it as good as that?
Really high.
Oh, that's exciting. Yeah.
Really, like I said earlier, I've got customers that have been with me for 20 years plus.
Yeah. Ollie, read the question for me one more time.
How did you develop your overall sales strategy when starting your business?
Yeah, way back in the day, we would knock on doors. That was a thing there. And then I'm a great believer, Dave, of putting the customer as our sales team, turning the customer into
we're bad
our
at that,
sales
I have
team.
to say, we're not that
and
great.
I think that's what you get, that you've got these, well, like you said, retented customers. You need to turn them into your sales team.
We get them to put Google reviews on and Trustpilot reviews, etc. But actually getting them there as an army to help.
But we don't do it. There's a prize, there's a competition, there's whatever, and start creating a community in amongst those loyal phone users, But I think that's what I really did in the early days, was to try and get the customer to turn into my sales team. I mean, here with the wedding venue, it's very difficult because you get a wedding, you don't retain a customer, so it's the 100-odd guests that you're turning into raving
word of
fans that then go off and sell on your behalf.
Yes.
So that was it.
Well, you've seen it work because we're at Business Masterclass and I gave away a free iPhone.
Yeah.
And people just queued up at my stand for the 2 days.
I mean, that
we
was
were
a
there.
very good thing, and it worked the year before, wasn't it?
Yeah,
I mean, that was to put a
massively.
card in the fish bowl.
In the bowl, goldfish bowl.
The goldfish bowl. And then what I liked was not a lot of people have cards, so you had blank cards for them to fill out. And then that gives you all that customer base. And did that work, David?
Absolutely,
Yeah,
worked
it did.
brilliantly.
Yeah.
We've ended up with multiple new clients.
Have you?
And probably added about 500 people to our newsletter and database.
The only thing is, Mr. Sinclair is a good ambassador for you, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
He must have plugged you about 6 or 7 times over that last 2 days.
I think to the upset of the other people in the room.
And it was full of bloody good people, wasn't it? They all had businesses, and they were like seasoned businesses, weren't they?
Yep.
And they could sniff a bit of discount.
I've had a conversation with one today directly from the show, and they've got nearly 20 phones with EE, and they've just said today they'll move over.
Yeah, that's great, isn't it?
So business like that is fantastic for us.
Right, we'll go for question number 8.
How do you build trust with new customers?
Well, I mean, what we would do back in the old days was I was interfacing all the time, but I think we built trust with the customers. We'd do a lot of training for our staff, so they were good people to be around, especially in the domestic area. But trust with, turn up on time, be smart, have a smart van, all of that stuff. No rubbish left in that particular service industry. In other businesses, with a big company that does all the lettings, we've got lots and lots of tenants. We attend the phones if there's a problem. We make sure things are done. I think speed. Wouldn't you say that speed is something that
speed is very important.
Speed is good, isn't it?
Yeah.
Back on the email, back on the phone. Even if you just say, we won't be able to deal with that over the next couple of days because we've got some staff off, but we'll be there on whatever it might be. But that communications and speed.
People don't expect you to fix it immediately, but they do expect you to let them know what's happening very quickly.
I think
quite passionate about that.
What built up the relationship with you and I in that early sort of romance was you were able to solve a problem very quickly that then it gave me credibility to say to others, no, use them for their supply of the phones, because even if there's a problem, they'll fix it.
Yeah.
And that you have the opportunity to shine when there's a problem.
And sometimes things are out of your control.
Yeah.
But it's making sure people know that they're still loved and we're there for them.
So communication and
is
speed.
key.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Doing what you say you'd do as well.
Yeah.
Be honest about it.
How many do you want to do, Oliver, on these? Do one more. Right, here we go. With less the drama of turning. This is number 9.
Number 9. Right, so we've got another sales one. What are some common sales mistakes you see entrepreneurs make?
I think they try to do it all on the internet. Let's just put it all out there as a website where people to flock to. But you mentioned that earlier. That's not enough.
Humanising. You've got to be human about it. Talk to people. I think it's quite subtle actually, and that people, if you're slightly dismissive of people, I think that comes across. Yeah. I think if you're going to engage with someone, you need to engage with them.
Yeah.
I've seen people pretend to engage, but you can tell the falseness behind it.
I always say that the customer is so savvy. They can spot bullshit from a mile away. And if you've not got sincerity behind what you're
100%.
doing, the service, the product, whatever it might be, they'll give you... They won't even tell you they're not coming back. They just won't.
And that's it. Yeah. They don't tell you. No. You just won't see them again.
Yeah, you just won't see them.
Sincerity, I think, is a big part of that. And I've always tried my very best to be sincere with people, genuinely, not an act. And I see people fail because it's just not there.
Yeah.
They might do everything else right, but if you're not sincere about it or humble about it,
I think
people will disappear.
Ollie, treating the customer sometimes like they're not smart. And I think the customer's super smart, and they think they can get away with something. And they might, but they won't get away with it on the second or the third time.
One of my sayings is, because customers will say to me, because I'm in a techie industry, they'll say, I'm just stupid, Dave, because I've done this. And I'll say, you're not stupid, you're just lacking in experience.
Yeah.
We deal with this stuff every single day.
Yeah.
I don't know about what you do.
Yeah.
And I don't call that stupidity. I just think, I'm just not in that game. And I try and put people at ease like that.
I think for entrepreneurs, you have no choice than to be a flirty, engaging person that is personable. You can't be a shrinking violet if you're in business. You've got to be out there. I'm constantly selling all the time to anyone I meet. I went into Land Rover the other month, and there was 2 young girls on the desk. I have the opportunity to say, "Are you married?" I can quite see they're too young to be married. And they go, "No." And I say, "Would you like to get married?" They go, "No." And I say, "Right, well, you will one day. Look up this website." And I say, "Look up Baddow Park House." And then I go off and do something, get a coffee, go to the service department. And when I come back, they're all buoyed up. "Oh, my God, this is lovely. Oh, do you work there?" And this, that, and the other. I said, "No, I'm the owner, and I'm going to give both of you a discount when you turn up." "But we haven't even got boyfriends." I said, "Right, now you need to go and get a boyfriend who earns plenty of money, because we're right up there. We're top end. And this is where you should have a lovely wedding." "Oh, that's really good. Yeah, I am. I'm going to get a boyfriend that's got a really good job." And it's just banter, but I know that has some trickle down somewhere. And it just does. We've got to be sales. We're on, aren't we, all the time?
And of course, you wear your Baddow Park hat.
I wear my hat every
I always see you with your hat on.
But that is part of it, and I do get a thrill out of it, and excitement out of that, out of getting the. You must love it when you get some phones out and you get some customers.
Doing the deal is my favourite thing. I still get the buzz from a customer saying, "Yes, let's go," and brilliant.
And you can see their head almost trickle over where they go, "Right, okay, so you'll do the phones." Go there. We need to do this, don't we? Because I was like that with you, and you explained it all to me, and I went, "Right, okay, so and how could you do it?" "Oh, right, within 48 hours, and you got the phone." "Yeah, okay." "I need to do it, don't I?"
You did. I remember you saying that.
Yeah. Let's do it. That's it. And we have people here.
And then you passed me on to Christina, of course.
Get my secretary to do all the loose ends. But even here, Dave, the people that you see them, they come and they go, "All right, so that date's not available." No. We've already filled up most of the year you're trying to get into, so you need to make a decision. They just go, "Yeah, well, we do, don't we?" And we go, "Yep, you do. And if you want this pile of bricks that's lovely, with all of these gardens, with all of this care and attention from our staff, you need to make a decision, because this is it, and it's moving. It's a moving animal, and you might miss a day." A date is very important for us here. People want certain dates. They want to do this, want to do that. Okay, Ollie, what are we doing next?
So now we're going to move on to what we're reading.
What are we reading? This segment, everybody, is called What Are We Reading? We're trying to put it in. Ollie will put the books up, yes? Whatever we talk about, he'll put them up on the screen as well. What are you reading, Dave?
Well, right now I'm reading a book called Apple in China by Patrick McGee. And it is the story of how Apple has got itself almost like entrenched in China for the manufacturing. Right. From the journey in the 1980s when they started making their own computers in America, right through to Asia. They moved into Asia, but then China grabbed them. And what's quite interesting about it actually is that China, they trade Apple because of their. We've all used Apple products. They're very nice, and they put a lot of effort into the design. And they taught the Chinese how to build those from their expertise in America. And then the Chinese figured out how they could build them at scale and efficiently and for the cost that Apple wanted them to. But that then meant the Chinese could build them for other people. Yeah. And the Chinese became the powerhouse really because of Apple.
But you were telling me earlier about this it's kind of, they're almost ransomed in there, aren't they?
Yes, yeah, because they're so reliant on the city-sized factories in China to build the iPhone, because the iPhone sells nearly a million iPhone. They sell nearly a million phones a day, which you can imagine the scale of that manufacturing is
that quality,
absolutely incredible.
And that quality, isn't it?
I mean, there's there's 50 screws in an iPhone. So someone's making 50 million screws a day for the iPhone market, aren't they? I mean, it just boggles the mind. It's the most successful product in history.
Have you ever been out to China?
No, I haven't. No, I should go. I know you've been with James.
I went out with James the other day, and I'd been previously with somebody else. I mean, it just blows your brain away on the scale of the country and the scale of the factories. Every city is built on factories.
Yeah.
You know, there's skyscraper factories. So you see it and you think, oh, there's a lot of people live here. No, they're not housing. They're factories.
Wow.
And there's no children with bleeding fingers. We went everywhere. We went right into the interior. We flew all over the bloody place. And we went into teddy bear factories. We went into factories that made marquees. We went all over the place. Proper, organised people making very good products. Probably dearer than some of the rest of the world because they've got it down to a fine art.
Yeah.
You know, you could probably get it a nip cheaper if you went to other places in Asia, but in China, if you get your R&D and you say you want it like that, it will come out like that every single time. You know, you've got to keep watching and testing what you're doing with the products. But I was super impressed. You know, organised. I mean, bloody organised.
And we all love our iPhones, don't we? I mean,
there were trucks going along that didn't even have cabs on them, like artists.
Literally just
driving along, electric ones, just going there. And the guy was explaining to us, our agent guy, he was saying that they just put 4 out at a time and they're all monitored and they just go along and they just go to a depot. And they just turn up at the depot and park themselves. And then they load them up with other stuff and send them somewhere else. And it was just incredible. Driverless cars, robots delivering food up into the hotels. There's a robot in the foyer of the hotel, and the Uber guy, or not the Uber guy, the Eat guy comes with his package, and he goes up, scans his phone in front of the robot. The robot's sort of big packet thing opens like his tummy. They put it in, it closes, and then this robot just starts making its way through the foyer to the lift. Goes in the lift. The lift is automated with the robot to get the floor.
Wow.
Up it goes. I mean, I was on 3 and I went to 4 to follow the robot. And the robot then come out 4, went along to the corridor, went to the door. Then whoever's in behind the door of the hotel room has got a message on their phone. Your food is outside. She opens the thing. The door opens, takes the food out. Then the robot makes all its way down the stairs, ready for the next one. And every hotel, some hotels had 6 of these things.
They're so far advanced, aren't they?
Oh, they're just way ahead. Electric cars everywhere. Didn't recognise any of them. Didn't recognise any of the brands of cars at all.
It's almost like that with phones as well.
Yeah.
I mean, we all know as iPhones, but out in China, there's different brands, Xiaomi, Oppo, Vivo. They're all building phones now, which you would consider as the hardware better than the iPhone.
Yeah.
And it's very difficult for Apple actually because they're almost hindered by their scale now. Because there's Chinese phones that are almost far more advanced than the iPhone. They've got 50% bigger batteries. They've got a better camera system. They've got more innovative things like screens on the back, etc., etc. But if Apple wants to do that, it's very difficult for them at scale because if you're wanting to build 500,000 or 1 million phones a day, and you want to say to Sony, I want your best camera system, because the iPhone uses Sony sensors. Right. It's not an Apple sensor, it's a Sony camera in the iPhone. Well, Sony might only be able to make 10,000 a day of the very best. Yeah. Well, that's no good for Apple.
They put something on it, everybody wants it, they can't supply it.
Can't supply it, yeah.
But I mean, it goes to show you the proof of brand, doesn't it?
Yes.
That they own that space.
They own that space.
Yeah,
they do.
Really
I mean, I often go in a room, if say in the dinner tonight, it'd be very interesting to say, put your hand up if you have an iPhone. Yeah. And I bet 80% of the people in the room will have an iPhone, at least. Yeah. I went to a meeting and then there was about 40 people in the room, and I said, I turned on, I said, who's got an Android phone? Yeah. 2 people put their hand up. Yeah. Yeah, that's real power in a brand, isn't it? To get that many people. Yeah. When, I mean, I don't use an Apple phone now. I did do for many years. And I consider it a better phone hardware. I understand why people go Apple. It works. There's an ecosystem. It is fabulous. I'm nothing to say bad against it. But there are alternatives. Yeah. And in some ways, those alternatives are better.
But you would know you would know that because you are the phone guy and stuff like that. And that
I have an interest in playing with it. Yeah.
But that would make good storytelling for other podcasts and people to get your brand out, is to tell that phones. People are interested about phones and they're interested about saving money. So I think that was.
But one thing I never want to do is move somebody away from a phone that they like.
Right.
I'm not in the business of trying to sell you a different phone. If you say to me, I want an iPhone, you can have an iPhone.
And do you get different profits out of different phones?
A little bit, but not worth
But
me.
not
Not worth me going through the
converting
hassle
someone
of
over,
trying to say to you, James, I think you should go with a Chinese brand.
Yeah, yeah,
And then I've got to help you with the apps and
yeah.
extricate yourself out the Apple
You
ecosystem.
could make more rod for your own back.
Yes,
effort.
100%. Yeah. So I'm not in the business of that, but it is interesting to see what else is out there.
Dave, what's been like the lowest moment? Because you were telling us something. You got very sick, didn't you? What happened?
Yeah, I started the business on the 1st of March 2017. I discovered I had celiac disease in the before then, but I got officially diagnosed in the August because celiac disease makes you very sick. It does make you sick, but it has lots of symptoms such as gastrointestinal IBS symptoms. I'm not going to go into the details, but brain fog. It makes you tired because it's an autoimmune disease. But the answer is, you go gluten free for the rest of your life, and then your health is much better. Yes, I feel a million times better after that, and that's fine. I live with that, and then. Bearing in mind that's only 3 or 4 months into the journey of Sympatico, but then 10 months into the journey of Simpatico, I wake up and my right leg had stopped working. Literally, I was paralysed down literally my whole right leg, and it's quite funny,
like
really.
A walking bloody disaster.
Again, this sort of weird resilience
or a hopping
thing.
disaster, I should say.
Yeah,
a hopping disaster.
And I think sometimes I'm like blinking. I'll just go, well, I've got to carry on. So I literally went to the office. I drove myself to the office. Luckily, I got an automatic car, so I could just drive with my other foot. And made it to the office, and Eric said, why are you why are you dragging your foot, your leg behind you, basically? And I said, well, I stopped working. He was like, why do you need to ring the doctors? So I literally sat in the office, I rang the doctors. The doctor just literally said, get yourself to hospital immediately. That's serious, like very serious. So literally, and Eric kicks himself to this day. He let me drive to the hospital on my own. So I drove to the hospital, and he said, "I can't believe I'll let you do that." But anyway, that's me. And
what was it? A nerve or something?
Yeah. So basically, I'd had back problems for a long time, and I had a slip disc as well. That thing where they call it a slip disc, but it's basically a bulge in the disc, is what it is in the medical world. And basically, I went to the hospital. They did an MRI, and they said, "Yeah, the disc that was bulged had fractured and pushed itself onto my spinal cord." L4, L5, and basically causing my right leg to stop working.
You out of the business then?
Yeah, so I was literally in hospital. I mean, NHS was incredible. I went into A&E. They did an MRI scan with it was 2 or 3 hours wait, obviously, but they then sent me straight up to neurosurgery, put me in a bed straight away. 4 consultants came to see me because they have to all agree on the back surgery. They don't like doing it. And they all said, they said that words where you're a sneeze away from being incontinent for life. Because that area is which controls all your bowel and your bladder function. So they said, we'd get you in immediately. So they literally gave me anaesthetic in the operating theatre because he said, we don't want to mess around waiting for the anaesthetic.
That was a rush of a day.
Yeah, it was quite funny because I went in the operating theatre and there was a big 40-inch like TV in the thing with Google on it. And I remember saying to him, have you done this before? You're not Googling it. It's your first operation. And he was laughing. He said, no. And he just said, we'll
Google it and we'll do it on YouTube.
And he was called Dan Brown, I remember, like the author. Yeah. And he just said to me, he said, don't worry, I'll fix you. And then they put me to sleep and it was about a 4-hour operation. And but the thing is, I had to be in bed for a month. And I literally was only 10 months into doing the business. But luckily, it's not a manual labour job. So I was able to lay in bed. I was only allowed to go to the toilet and then get back in bed. And that was I was there about 3.5 weeks. But I literally had my laptop on
good man.
and my phone. And I literally carried on. I did not have I literally didn't have a day off. And I literally got new customers.
Did you really?
Moved customers over.
Story.
And I was just literally laid there. And do you know what? I've never had back pain since.
Wow.
It was the best thing that happened to me, which is a bizarre thing to say. But I'd had a slip disc for about 7 years. Yeah. Anybody who knows back problems, it's
spiky,
awful. You get days where you are just laid up. Yeah. And that stopped. He fixed it, cleaned it all up. He said, yeah, you're all done. I've got a little 2-inch scar on my back where he went in, and all done.
But it shows the sort of resilience of what happens, because it could have just
we have to do it though, don't you?
Give up. You just
got to feed myself.
Well, that's it. Yeah.
As the business gets bigger, it would be easier now, but But yeah, it was tough. Yeah, but you get through it, and you have to
So
keep
then,
going.
so let's flip it on its head then, right? So what has been the highest moments? If that was one of the lowest moments, what's the highest moment that you've had in this whole career?
Two things for me. We did get some large customers, like dealing with people like the NHS is a high because it means it gives you validation to say, we trust you. Yeah. That's a massive organisation with brand trust as well.
Good for PR.
Good for PR. Yeah. It was great for PR. And then we've got like the Humber Bridge as our client. And I really like that.
Yeah, that's
we
good,
do quite a lot of phones for the Humber Bridge and the engineers on there. I've been on the top of the tower. They took me up there. And those sort of ones are really fabulous.
Did you feel the need to jump?
No, but there is only one little fence at the top. There's not much hold. They don't let anybody up there. There's only engineers go up there.
Right,
got
up
some
there,
great
stand
pictures.
on top of the Humber Bridge.
It was.
Have you ever driven over it? Oh my God, it's gigantic.
It's enormous.
You drive over it, I went up there. It's proper huge, isn't it?
Yeah. So we do the phones for them.
Yeah.
So that's a great client, and just the fact that I think the high when we moved from this upfront brokerage model to being our own service provider, was a big thing for me.
Yeah.
It was brilliant. To do that was hard work.
It's like a proper responsibility and grown up part of what you've done for a long time. You sort of, I think when I listen and look at your story, it's about tweaking the model to just get it right. And sometimes
100%.
it takes a long time, doesn't it?
It took a good 6 years to tweak it, continuously tweak it, tweaking all day. Me not thinking of anything else but where can we get the phones at the best price? How can we do this? How can we do that? As well as getting new clients. Back
in the day, we were building Ruskins up, and we had depot in Darlington. We were all over the place, and it was finding to tweak that we had good commercial contracts, but they paid poorly, 90 days. So then we were sort of getting out of domestic work, and we brought domestic work in because domestic work was paid on Friday. And that was tweaking the model to have two completely separate teams. You had teams that did commercial and teams that did domestic, but it made the cash flow work. And that was it. There was probably bigger profits in the and easier work to do in the commercial. And the Harold and Hilda domestic work was very fiddly, but very, very, very well paid. Paid quick.
Yeah.
So I think it is. That's just from time and experience, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, one final high as well, to just say, is we also dealt with the English Institute of Sport. Really? And we helped them in the Olympics in Tokyo provide data SIM cards so that the trainers could film the athletes and then send it back to headquarters in Manchester to be analysed. And we did quite a number of that sort of thing for Tokyo.
But you see what you're doing every time you tell this story.
I've forgotten about that one.
This bridge, you're doing this, that, and the other. That's really good modelling for someone to be comfortable to come to you because of these names and brands that you're doing. And I think that would be, those stories need to get up to the surface.
I'm not very good at blowing my own trumpet, I don't think, to be quite honest.
You've got to get good at it. Well, if you're going to get up to 6 million, you've got to get going, haven't you, Dave?
You're right. You need to do a bit more of that.
Yeah. What do you do? What happens for downtime? Where do you sort of decompress? What do you do?
I like a morning routine. I like to get up early. I'm always up around 6:30, even on Sunday morning. I like to watch some YouTube. I love YouTube, learning stuff. My YouTube premium subscription is just the best thing ever. It's just the best. I like strength training, so I do that 4 times a week. I like photography. I like getting out and challenging myself with mobile phone photography. I like going out and seeing what we can do with that. I like walking. Do quite a lot of walking.
And do you get into my favourite word, my contemplation moments? Do you have that?
That's early in the morning.
Yeah. Puttering is what it is.
Yeah, Jeff Bezos does that, doesn't he?
That's right. So he does it, and so does Bill Gates.
Yes.
When you read Bill Gates' thing, he gets in at 10. And I have really adopted that the last 10 years. I get in at 10:30 now. I used to be the first one, show them that I'm up early, because I was always up early, this and that. And now I don't. I putter along. I get up, cup of tea, do the swimming thing that I'm really into at the moment, come back, do some, always pushing a few texts and emails, getting everybody going, answer some questions, like you, I do a bit of morning YouTube digestion. You've got to be careful because you could end up sitting there for hours and you deep dive something that you don't know anything about.
Rabbit holes.
You start learning about the how to be safe cold water swimming. So I'll tell you this for nothing. So I spoke to a guy, Ollie. This guy's been doing cold water dipping, in the tank thing at home for years. I said, so how does it all work? This is obviously not on YouTube. I said, how does it work? He said, well, it's a degree. It's a minute a degree. I said, so how cold is the thing? He said, it was about 4 degrees. So I'm in there 4 minutes. I went, okay. So I went, the last time it was 6 degrees and I swam a quarter of a mile. So that was easily 20 minutes. So I was thinking, perhaps I'm spending too long in the water. I've got to really look at that. Whatever.
Yeah.
But I like that puttering around in the morning.
Yeah. Nobody really bothers you between 6:30 and 8 in the morning.
No, they don't.
You're
not at all.
You're in a very little world that nobody's going to bother you, and I like that.
And I think that it's good to have that repeatable thing, that you do that. You do your training, you do your walks, you do your thinking time. There's a lot, without getting too crushy on it, we have a lot of responsibility, don't we? And we are, the stress. It's a privilege to have the stress, and we have brought it on ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we have to take care of ourselves.
And we do. And to cope with it, and we've got people relying on us for employment and everything else to make that ecosystem work, constantly looking for business that, we do lots of consultancy, and I meet lots of business owners. They are not making profits. They have a very busy job.
Yes.
And it's very different. This room of entrepreneurs tonight, these people are serious entrepreneurs, making money, creating new businesses, buying businesses, selling businesses. And I think that's when you're what James Sinclair refers to as being an investorpreneur.
Yes.
And I think that's where I'd like really to see your journey go towards, is getting that buyout time, and then you'd look at buying other businesses and doing other things. Because I absolutely know, Dave, when you do get Grant Thornton to sell you for their millions, you'll be straight into something else.
Yes.
Because it's just the DNA of who we are, isn't it?
Yeah, I bought skateboards from China once and sold them on eBay.
Did you?
Yeah, because I was bored.
Yeah, that's it.
I didn't realise that 250 skateboards would come on an articulated lorry, and I didn't have any space for them. The guy pulled up at our house and went, "What?
You've got 2 hours?
Have you got? Yeah. What are you doing with these?" I was like, "Oh yeah, I never thought about that."
Wow.
The house was full. The garage was full.
Was it?
Mrs. is going
Bit
crazy.
of tarpaulin.
That was about 15 years ago. But yeah.
Ollie, what else are we doing?
And what are you reading, James?
Ollie, I've been reading Rory Sutherland. Is that how you say his name, Rory Sutherland? And that's Alchemy. You see him all over, Instagram and TikTok, but he has got a good wonk on marketing and branding and advertising, and he's very easy to watch. The book is very good.
Yeah,
it's
I'm gonna
very
read
structured of his twist on how psychology works inside marketing and branding and sales, and all things digestible by customers. So I recommend that, and put that up, Ollie, on the screen. That's a really good book, well worth a listen.
I liked his bit about electric cars, where he turned it on its head. I said, can you imagine selling a traditional internal combustion engine car these days, where you're going to have to drive around with a huge bomb on the back of it, and you're going to have to deal with this flammable fuel by putting. And he went through this whole list, and you were like, yeah, that's actually quite an interesting way of looking at it. He twists everything on its head, doesn't he?
Well, he says about the train from the Eurostar coming across. It costs so many billions, and it saved 45 minutes. Well, what you could do is just put nice carriages on there with bigger seats, with Wi-Fi and lots of places to plug your phone in, and have sort of beautiful models walking up and down and serving you food for free forever. Because that much money was spent, and everybody say, I don't mind this 45 minutes extra. I'm quite happy to stay on the train. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
So, Dave, we've gone round and round in circles of how we want your business to succeed and promote you. If people want you, how do they find you? Sell it, baby.
Yep, so they'll find us at www.sympatico.co.uk. My email address is dave@sympatico.co.uk, so you can always get me there. I always say I never expect the business, but I would love to be able to quote for your business. Send us over what you've got. Can we do any better? And if we can't, well, that's on us, isn't it? Not on you.
And listen, if you're regular listeners and watchers, this is a huge saving for your companies that can happen more or less instantaneously. And I highly recommend it, because I think you should be selling yourself as a consultancy service company as opposed to a phone company, because it is just a sort of a hidden little secret that everybody should be tuned into. And I think it's great. Thank you ever so much for today, your time today, and to coming down. And I want people to find you and find out how they can also save lots of money. Thank you,
James.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If you've enjoyed this episode, like, subscribe, leave a comment. If there's someone you know that could gain something from what we do here, pass the pod. And if I'm lucky, I'll see you on the next one.